And now, Rate That Album, Season 3, with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Two guys who know stuff.
Hi, welcome back to Rate That Album, back and forth album review between myself, Joseph Fremming, and my good friend, Paul Muad'Dib. Paul, we're going straight to hell.
Yes, we are, and ain't nothing slowing me down, so you better get me one more round.
Yes, this is kind of, today's album is kind of our first official, I would say, country album. We've dabbled in it with Ween and the Black Lips. Those were a little more tongue-in-cheekish. This week we're going to basically what is considered country music royalty, the Williams family. The grandson of Hank Williams, the son of Hank Williams Jr. We're talking about Hank Williams III. Paul, I know this isn't typically your wheelhouse, and I know you struggle with country music, but let's kind of get your first thoughts on Straight to Hell.
So, I will say, that, first of all, I gotta back up a little bit. It was hard for me to find what I would consider the real version of this album, by the way, on the music things that I have. I found that apparently there's a clean and an explicit version.
Yep.
And the clean version, I learned, is missing like 2 songs.
Well, yeah, and I think we could pretty much deduce what.
Yeah, which ones those were. And and it was, I will say that as someone who's not a country fan, I've always said and there's a lot to talk about with this album. I don't want to give too much away early on, but I was very impressed with this style of country. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, this is kind of more, oddly enough, this feels more like traditional country music than when this came out, where country music was at, especially 2006. And that's generally a theme that's on this album. So let me get in a little history of the Williams family. Hank Williams Sr., he was, he's considered the first superstar of country music. Lived a hell-raising kind of life, to the point he was on so many prescription drugs and consuming so much alcohol. He not only did he get banned from the Grand Ole Opry, he died at the age of 29.
Wait, which one was this now?
Hank Sr.
Hank Sr. Okay, Hank Sr. Okay.
Hank Sr.
Okay.
His son, Hank Jr., I believe, when he got to a certain age, his mom would dress him up in cowboy regalia and have him sing his dad's music. That's kind of how Hank Jr.'s career started. Kind of a fucked up way to, And then Hank Jr.'s son, Hank Williams III, Shelton Williams, he's kind of a different breed of the typical. He's more of his grandfather than his dad.
Okay.
To the point that if you look at pictures of Hank Sr. and Hank III, it's eerie. It's fucking eerie how much he resembles his grandfather.
I'm looking that up right now.
Take a look, man. So,
Senior, right? Hank Williams Sr., right?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. That is eerie.
Yeah, there is no question if Hank Jr. was his dad. So Hank III grew up with the traditional country, but he also got his start in music with punk bands.
That's
punk
awesome.
And metal bands. And he signs in the late 90s, early 2000s. He signs with a record company called Curb Records. Curb Records is typically traditional country stuff. It doesn't rock the boat. It's Nashville. It's that whole scene. And Hank III is, again, much like his grandfather, hated it. He hated being on that label. He records 2 albums, with Curb. He doesn't really care for him. He records a third one called Hellbilly Joker that they would not release. They release it after Straight to Hell because Straight to Hell is actually a hit for them. Against his wishes. They didn't even inform him that they were going to do it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
His relationship with Curb is bad. So when it comes to Straight to Hell, he records it and he pays for the recording himself. This is a completely do-it-yourself album, Paul. He did it at his buddy's house.
Oh, wow.
You wouldn't expect that from the sound you get out of here.
No.
And Curb hears it, and the reason why, there's the clean, and they had to create an imprint for the dirty version of this called Bruck, which is just Curb backwards. And but they won't use, so the clean version comes out on Curb Records that they can sell in Walmart, and the dirty version is Bruck. Hank is not happy that there's even a clean version of this. So he has a very contentious relationship with this label, and it's all over this album.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry. Go on.
So here we are with Straight to Hell, and it becomes it does pretty well, and it kind of surprises, it kind of shocks the country music establishment. Let's just say that. Because in 2006, you had pop music and countries, there's really no difference. You have like these idiots like Big and Rich, save a horse, ride a cowboy bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You have Kid Rock starting to do country music.
I hated that. Well, I hate Kid Rock in general.
Well, Hank 3 addresses Kid Rock on this album a couple times.
Yeah.
And this is kind of his middle finger to the establishment. This is the album he's always wanted to create, and he does it. And he's even said he doesn't think he will ever be able to top this again, because it was just like a perfect storm of shit in his life, the right people, the right time, and everything. So here we are with Straight to Hell, a very, I would say, gonzo country too.
Yes, I will. 100%. Mm-hmm.
This is very. This is kind of like if Hunter S. Thompson did a country album.
Yes.
The excess and like the over the topness, the cartoonishness, the lines blurred of like what's really Hank's persona and like what's,
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'd probably say like a lot of it's kind of a little bit real. The addiction, and the album is just like straight up hell raising. That ends like a lead balloon because it's like a very introspective ending that kind of refutes all that comes before it.
Uh-huh. Now, I got to ask you, I only got what I was able to listen to, which I'm finding out now is only disc 1. Are we also doing disc 2? Because I did not get disc 2. I didn't even know. Well,
disc 2 is, we don't need to get into it. It's interesting if you want to listen to it. It starts with a one track called Louisiana Stripes, very much like a Johnny Cash kind of murder ballad type song. And then there's the hidden track, which is just this insane sound collage with songs and like audio from funerals and just like water. And it's just very Revolution 9-ish, I would say.
Got it. Okay, cool.
So, yeah. So let's discuss this, Paul. Let's get into it. It's a wild album. Again, the Williams family is they're very interesting, and Hank 3 is he's a little out there, man.
This is not what you expect. Okay, so first getting into the first songs, Satan is Real, Straight to Hell. I gotta say, one of the things that I was confused about with this album, because again, I know nothing about country, Joe. I have made it my life's goal to not know anything about country, and we're ruining that right now, which is fine. It's fine. So, 41 years of saving myself from country. So like I could not tell when this was recorded, because it definitely didn't have a modern sound, like not sound, but style. It didn't have that modern style to it. But then I heard things throughout it that I was like, no, this is like either this is so far ahead of its time that, that it's insane, or this is more modern but made to sound like the old style. And of course, I figured out it was the latter. But when it starts with, the opening of a very, I remember going to my grandpa's house when I was like, he died when I was like 8. But I still have memories of going to his house and him always having country music on. And so it opens with like that style country, like Satan in his, yeah.
A sample of the Lovin' Brothers, Satan is Real, which is also one of the most hilarious album covers. If you can probably find it on a Google search. It's pretty hilarious, but yeah, and it's slowed down too.
Okay, I thought so. I mean, it didn't sound right. It didn't, like, it just sounds just like weird. And then you get the demonic laugh, and I'm like, that's not country-esque. And then it goes into what is, I would consider it bluegrass, more style country. It's weird. It's not like, this is not a standard country album at all, and I was very happy for it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I would argue from what we grew up with country, if you listen to like Hank Senior and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's very much in tune with that kind of musically with the bluegrass stuff, the fiddles and all that, and like, the pedal steels and all that, but it's not done in a cheesy way, which kind of happens in the 70s, 80s, and
Yes.
90s.
Yes. I mean, it definitely is reminiscent of, because my mother liked some of the older country. My mom liked Johnny Cash, the standards, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson. She was a big fan of the Highwaymen, that style of country. And that had that more of a vibe to it, which is the country I can handle.
Yeah, I am a huge Johnny Cash fan.
Mm-hmm.
I just before I got into Hank 3, like the only country I listened to was the Johnny Cash stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Just because they're just kind of, they're different. They don't sound like, they're not. Nashville kind of ruined country.
Oh gosh, yeah.
They just ruined it because it became such an industry, and everybody's just chasing whatever's popular at the time, and it got so slick and overproduced. And that's one of the things you keep hearing Hank 3 singing about on this album.
Yes.
How much away they've gone from the roots of country, which is very much, it's music for people, is very much in the line of folk and bluegrass. And I mean, Hank Sr., if you listen to his stuff, and this is kind of the surprising thing, and I don't think it's deceivingly complex in a lot of ways, because he was very much in tune with jazz and Creole and blues and bluegrass and all that. And he was a musical sponge. And that's where I kind of think Hank 3 gets it from. He's very much a musical sponge too. And so he kind of goes to that because, like, again, the 70s, 80s, 90s, it becomes so slick and so overproduced. And like by the time this album comes out, it's indistinguishable from top 40 pop radio.
Yeah. And, I still think that's a trouble that country has right now as well. And we talked about Taylor Swift a little bit, how she got backlash for getting out of the country, but I don't blame her, because there's a lot of things going on lyrically in this album, and I just want to get it out of my head a little bit, because I was thinking about it so much. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd relate with someone like Hank Williams III and so much.
It's shocking. That's kind of like what I went through when I first heard this. Like, I'll let you go. But when I first heard this, I'm like, holy fuck, this is like country music I can enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I can relate with this guy. I know what he's singing about. I know what he's doing. Now there is a song that was difficult, and we'll get there when we get there. But outside of that, like, I was thinking to myself as I was listening to this, because again, I wasn't sure. I'm so out of country. Like, I wasn't sure how old Hank Williams III is, and when this came out, and I don't know anything about that world. So I really was trying to insulate myself from it and not learn anything. And most of the time I learned, but I really wanted to hear it from you and your point of view versus going like on Wikipedia or something like that, learning it there. So I was really excited for it when we did this podcast. But I was thinking to myself, and we get a little political, and this album definitely has some political tones to it, is I was thinking, when the hell did country go from this? Because this is not far off from what the stuff Willie, Chris, Johnny, and some of those older country people was about, not being bootlickers and like being, going against society and giving it to the man and standing up to the law and standing up to things. And how did it go from that? And now this is coming back, and I love this, to, like, get in line, hug the police, love your sheriff, which again, Dukes of Hazzard was never about.
No, I mean, Waylon Jennings of all people did the theme song.
Right.
Waylon's and he's mentioned on this album.
Waylon is mentioned on this album. So again, how did country go from being rebel music to compliant, uniformed, behave music? And that's the thing. I'm like, when did that distinction happen? And how the fuck did it happen? Because this is great. Honestly, this is great. And then you listen, as you said, Biggs and Rich and fucking Brad Paisley and blah, blah, blah. And I go, Jesus Christ, it's so watered down. It's so bland. How does anyone listen to this shit and not want to shoot themselves in the mouth? I don't get it, because it's so difficult.
I agree 100%. And my guess, the easy answer to that would probably be just how Nashville became more of a money machine than an artistic machine. I mean, Nashville was like, Hank 3 had to battle them. And it's funny because after this comes out, there's country writer reporters and stuff, and they usually refer to before Straight to Hell and after Straight to Hell for modern country, because this kind of opened the doors to so now there are kind of some of these outlaw country guys and girls like Margot Price and Chris Stapleton and stuff, where they kind of have more of an edge to it. They're not going to get as extreme as Hank 3. Hank 3, I mean, this is
out there.
He's Hunter S. Thompson with a fetish for Satan.
Yes. Yeah.
And, but this album, it checked so many boxes off for people that it kind of rocked the industry.
Yeah. I want to bring up verse 3 here, which is, when I'm racing these back roads trying to save my life because the sheriff wants to kill me because I fucked his wife. I was on the run with a gun in my hand because I like a good time and a one-night stand. When the F-bomb dropped, I was blown away, because again, country has become so sterile and so far removed from the spirit of what it was in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, that when I heard this, I was like, whoa. I immediately thought this pissed off people in the country industry.
Oh, it did. They were very the label is on, he had to finance and record it himself. This was a do-it-yourself production, and it did. It rocked them a bit, because it was just so. It did pretty well, because a lot of people were kind of looking for something like this with regard to country music. There was just this huge void. I mean, if you think about it, in the 90s and into the 2000s, the only one who was really carrying the outlaw kind of torch is Johnny Cash, and he's on his way out. His 80s, but he has Rick Rubin, and he's doing these really cool albums where he's covering Nine Inch Nails and Soundgarden and Nick Cave and all this stuff, and he dies. But he was like, him and Willie were the only ones really keeping this shit going, Willie's just a touring machine. I saw him live, and he's phenomenal. But, he's up there, too. He's in his 90s now.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone thought Willie wouldn't make it because he's such a fucking pothead and whatever. And I fucking love Willie. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Willie's a wonderful stand. I mean, and again, I know it will never happen because it's so institutionalized now. But I would get back in the country, and Nashville could get some of my money if they would go back to this spirit of country.
Exactly. And again, this kind of blew up because there was that void. There was this, nothing was like this before. I mean, there was some, indie underground bands kind of doing some of this, but Hank has the name.
Yeah.
So he can reach a wider audience. Again, he's music royalty in the
Mhm.
country scene. And so he does this, and it floored me. And yeah, so he drops the F bomb, and he's, the sheriff wants to kill me because I fucked his wife.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of humor on it too.
Yeah.
We'll get to the one where I loved he kind of flips my wife's leaving me because I'm drinking all the time. He flips its
Yep.
head.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. No, I have to say, yeah, I was really, 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 really blown away by it. Yeah, and then we get thrown out of the bar. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
again,
again, he's off the rails, been beat up bad, he's been kicked around, he's been thrown out every bar of this damn town.
Yep, I've done so much trip, I can't look in the eye. As I was trying to find that ultimate high, and he's hanging out with David Allan Cole and George Jones.
Yeah,
Talking about how country's lost its soul, which he's 100% right.
Yeah, and again, these are the things I think really pissed off the establishment. But it was
Good.
popular. There's nothing they could have done about it.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad it did.
It did, yeah, and yeah. So thrown out of the bar, like I'll throw this on when I go to dive bars, just because they'll play like a lot of shitty music, and like so throwing out of the bar and Straight to Hell are my go-to now. I used to do Dick and Dixie, but I don't anymore because of obvious. Slur on there.
Obvious slur on there. Yep.
That I don't care for, so I don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, thrown out of the bars, it's fun, and it's just like it has this energy, and again, the production on this is wild for
country. Yeah, it's definitely what I would consider psychedelic country.
Yes,
and I never thought I could be into that. Apparently, I'm just a fan of psychedelic in general because of psychedelic music. I tend, no matter what genre it is, I'm into it. Yeah, no, I cannot say that. Again, I like it because again, I am getting that outlaw, that anti-establishment vibe from it. And yet you're still getting that old country feel from it. So I think it's a wonderful juxtaposition.
Yeah, and plus I like the musicianship on this is wild.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
just like like basically it's like bluegrass instrumentation. You got the fiddles and all these different like shit going on, so it gives it like a much fuller sound too. So it sounds retro, but like beyond modern. Like it's.
Do you think that's because it was done at his friend's house and not the studio?
I think so. I think without people getting in their way, if you leave people to their own devices, I find they typically do better.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, because you compare that to again, Iggy and the Stooges, where they destroyed the studio, essentially. They tore down the studio and parts of it to get rid of some of that stuff so they could get that sound. And it worked really well. I mean, I'm looking at this, I mean, correlation isn't always causation, but right now we have kind of two data points of maybe people need to be getting out of the studios and making their music.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was recorded in somebody's spare bedroom, but
no, it doesn't at all. That's why when you told me that, I was shocked.
Up next is Things You Do to Me. There's a lot of substance abuse on this album.
A lot of substance abuse and a lot of women problem. I mean, this is definitely country in that regard, because there's a lot of drinking and there's a lot of women problem.
But it doesn't feel insincere.
No, there's the difference.
With a lot of modern country, you're like, I don't see that. Yeah, that never happened to you. But I can picture, Things You Do to Me, where I can see Hank 3 in a bar, like, well, I better take this shot before I get myself in trouble.
When you hear a watered down, overly produced, obvious auto-tune fixing or correction, vocal correction on a country song that's supposed to be slow and thoughtful, and talking about, you got the pretty boy country guy who is a closet rapist in high school, singing about how this girl broke his heart and blah, blah, blah. I do not get the sincerity.
No,
There's no sincerity there. I'm checked out. I'm fucking checked out.
no.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it's, there's a sincerity here. And so I told you about this before, like we talked a little bit before this, but I saw Hank 3 live at First Avenue on this tour.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to like talk about it because it was a weird mix. All right, there was like weird hipsters, metalheads, and like old country fans, and like bikers, and like this weird mix.
Weird.
The opening band is the Murder Junkies. The Murder Junkies were Gigi Allen's backup band.
Jeez.
If you don't know who Gigi Allen is,
Ugh.
YouTube live performances, you'll find out.
Yeah, we got to get to Gigi Allen at some point. We will.
Yeah, and so they opened, and then Hank comes out, and he does his. This is basically kind of him doing like his grandpa's music, and some songs off of his other albums. The next set is him with the Damn Band, which is the band that does Straight to Hell, and he does the Straight to Hell set. After the Straight to Hell stuff, he kind of tells everybody, like, look, if you're here for long necks and, country music, you're probably going to want to leave. Because his third act is his metal band, Ass Jack. Now, Ass Jack...
Hang on, wait, stop a fucking minute there, Joe. He has a metal band named Ass Jack.
Yep, he has a metal band named Ass Jack.
Holy shit! Okay,
so
go
that's the third act of his live performance is this Ass Jack. So I'm at First Ave, and Ass Jack hits the stage. Unbeknownst to me, it's Gigi Allen's birthday. So he invites the Murder Junkies on stage with Ass Jack to do some Gigi Allen's tribute stuff.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. And the lead singer of Ass Jack, I don't know his name, but he was like really into it to the point he breaks a beer bottle and starts stabbing himself in the head and flinging blood onto the audience. And in between songs, Hank 3 is leaning over and pulling glass out of the guy has a shaved head, so he's picking it off this guy's bald dome, making more blood come out.
Oh my God.
It was one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life.
That's phenomenal. So how did the rest of the audience handle it?
Oh, they went wild.
Did they?
A lot of the hipsters left after the Murder Junkies set because it's the Murder Junkies. They have songs like "I Want to Rape You" and stuff.
Yep.
They kind of come back for the Hank stuff. Like, it was weird because I think some of the older country fans, like they'd seen him enough to know that Ass Jack's not their thing. But some of the younger ones like really got into it.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at me. Why am I not listening to a band named Ass Jack?
Oh, we'll get to Ass Jack, Paul. That's another album that he released, the Ass Jack album. You'll be surprised if you listen to it after this. And I suggest maybe because you might like it. He plays all the instruments, does all the vocals, and did all the production on it. The guy is fucking talented.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to check out Ass Jack tomorrow. Honestly, again, it's a band name. It's a metal band named Ass Jack. Of course, I'm going to listen to it, Joe.
Yeah, well, he has a lot. He's weird, man. Like he played bass with Phil Anselmo and Superjoint Ritual. Like Hank 3 has been like all over the map. Like on a couple albums he recorded after this, he has like Tom Waits and Les Claypool playing on his albums. It's fucking just, he's just one of those dudes, man. He's just one of those dudes.
That's fantastic.
But I kind of want to get that because we go into now Country Heroes, which is.
Go ahead, because I
love this song. I just love I love the instrumentation. It slows it down, and I really just enjoy it. Even though it's a pretty depressing song.
Okay. When I first heard this song, I absolutely love this song. I absolutely love this song. I posted it in our music group. It is when the first time I heard it, I'm like, this is so Lynchian. And you made it in life, by the way, just a side note here, rabbit hole a little bit, when your last name is a fucking adjective. You made it in life when people are adding an in or to your last name. It is Lynchian. And then the second time I heard it, I happened to be I was driving in an area. I had I was going up north, so there's not a lot of in between in the towns I'm going to, because it's pretty rural up there. And I just happened to be kind of where I was, and I look out, and it's like a movie. And then when the song's playing, I'm like, holy shit, how has this song not been in a Tarantino film before? Because it also sounds very Tarantino. This song is truthfully a masterpiece. I love the psychedelic, the way that he was doing some of those things, the notes he's hitting, how you're getting that weird reverb and echo that's not standard on country. It's really not standard in even psychedelic music. That's just barely warping the sound of the steel guitar. My God, yeah, absolutely. I adore this song.
Yeah, it's just again, the instrumentation, again, it gives it such a full sound, and which is weird. You listen to the instrumentation and it matches his voice, and he does not have a great singing voice, but it fits
him.
Fits this. It fits the whole package. It's just, yeah.
And when the drum on the guitar starts happening, I love that beat and how it works and what it does. And this is a phenomenal. Yes, it's a kind of a down song, but because it's about addiction, but my God, there's so much right about it that again, if more country was like this, I would be on the mountains hyping it. Mm-hmm.
Hank's giving me those high times. Cash is going to sing it low.
Yeah.
You're getting wasted, just like my country heroes.
Just like my country heroes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm drinking whiskey out of that glass, and if that ain't country, well, boys, you can kiss my ass. I want to hear the old songs, nothing of the new, because this might be the last time I'm going to see you. Super dark, still putting in his hatred of the modern music and still keeping it fucking, giving it that old country soul. I'm in. Yeah, it's so good.
And speaking of that old country soul, we now go into D. Ray White, which I looked into because I've never heard of this person before.
Yeah. Me neither.
But this is a story song about, this guy in, Southern Tennessee?
Yeah.
West Virginia. Way down West Virginia. So D. Ray White was a mountain dancer that PBS did quite a few, documentaries on. I thought he might have been some, this is one of those times where I get a little nervous when people start celebrating people from the South. I'm like, well, I better look into this,
Right.
D. Ray White is actually a really interesting guy. He became famous for mountain dancing, which mountain dancing, from what I could tell, it's like a mix between flatfoot and tap dancing. So
interesting.
So today I was watching videos of this guy dancing. It's fucking wild. He's really good, and his family was in it. D. Ray White gets shot in I think 1985 by a neighbor after a dispute with the neighbor and his kids. And I don't know what the connection to him and Hank 3 is.
Mm-hmm.
Hank 3 is a really private guy. We'll kind of get to it after we get through the album because he's kind of disappeared. Honestly.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll get to that at the end. He's still out there. Just there's a lot of weird stuff going on. But D. Ray White's is legitimate kind of folk hero in the South, and he's known for mountain dancing.
So I have to say, I looked up just when we were talking. Did you know that there's a documentary that Johnny Knoxville co-produced about D. Ray White?
I did not.
Yeah, it's called The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Johnny Knoxville co-produced this, and it's a documentary about the White family.
I'll have to watch it because, like, I watched like some YouTube clips of this, and this guy's really fucking good. And he's just like this old guy, this old, like, really tall old guy. And he starts dancing. You're like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, no, it's a Dick House project. It's a Dick House documentary from 2009. I never knew this came out. So yeah, this is something both you and I are going to have to watch.
yeah, but just so D-Ray White's it's a story. It's a story
It's a
song.
story song. It's very much a story song. Yep.
But so like now I know that I kind of like it more because now I know. Like before, it's like, oh god, is this gonna be like one of those racist guys?
Yeah,
You know, you kind of got to be a little careful. You just never know.
you got to be careful. You got to be careful in country. You do. You got to be careful in country. And I completely agree with you on that. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, so I like this song. And again, like D-Ray White, if you want to see some weird, like, it's really talented dancing. I've never even heard of mountain dancing before. I started looking into it, but check it out. You might be surprised.
Yeah, I will check it out on YouTube for sure.
6 Lowdown, which is again, it has the highs and the lows on this album. And
Yep.
Lowdown is one of those.
I like this one as well. I liked this one as well. I got more of that psychedelic vibe again from it.
Yeah.
And I could definitely tell it was a fucking addiction song. There's a lot of that all over this album. I have a feeling that Hank Williams was going through some shit when he was doing this album.
I think when this album came out, like, it made some people nervous because of how young his grandfather died because of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a very vicious thing, but as far as I know, Hank's still alive. He survived it. But yeah, but it's starting to show the cracks a bit in the addiction with the depression.
Yes, absolutely. Because drifting around about 4:30 with the blues on my back and a bottle on the floor, drinking until I think I'm going to fall down because my sweet baby had to kick me low down. Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling now to get by, my friend. It's keeping me up real late at night, and there's massive depression on here.
Yeah, he's and I again, I don't know a whole lot about Hank's real life, but I imagine some of this has got to be a little autobiographical.
I think so.
It just doesn't come out of nowhere.
The way, I mean, and it could be really, 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 really slick marketing or whatever. But I get the vibe that he comes from that old school. God, what is that? And I always fuck it up. There's this style of music that was really, really big down in Mexico, and it kind of got adopted and became part of the early country. And it was these autobiographical songs.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about,
I know
right?
that.
I forget what it's called. It starts with a B, but I think
pretty much how Hank Senior's kind of stuff got. Like, I shared that song "Angel of Death" with you, which is kind of almost like he's predicting
his
own death. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a great song, by the way.
Yeah. Hank 3 covered that with Glenn Danzig at a concert. Stanton LaVey.
It all comes back to Dan Marison, dude.
Dan Marison with Stanton LaVey, Anton LaVey's son.
Jesus Christ.
Again, going into his interest with Satanism.
How is all the stuff that we're listening to just so incestuous? It's weird. It's weird, Joe. Because we pick the most out there, we pick the most random albums when we do these podcasts, and yet we're always like, how does that link up to that? What the fuck's happening here?
Yeah, I never thought This Mortal Coil would link up with Big Star, but there we were.
And how the fuck does Hank Williams 3 have any right linking up with Dan Marison? It doesn't make sense. Or Gigi Allen, for fuck's sake.
Oh, God. I think it's a lot with his punk background.
Yeah.
Growing up. So that's probably, but yeah, it's wild. Like the circles you would find with Hank 3. Next is another one I'd play at the bar a lot because when I wanted to fuck people up. It's Pills I Took. A cover from Them Poor Bastards, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I love this song.
I love the song.
I've been away for 6 weeks straight. It must have been them pills.
I took. I've been pitching and turning, seeing villains. Must have been the pills I took.
There's blood on the carpet and holes in the wall.
The mirrors.
This
all
is a very much Hunter S. Thompson issue.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of that after the adrenochrome part in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
100%. I've lied and I stolen and I ain't fucking joking. Must have been those pills I took. And again, they drops the F bomb and I'm like, holy fuck. Like, all right, yeah, it wasn't just one time.
Nope. Yeah, this is a fun song. It's a
and then the ending of the song is then reminiscent of Mr. Bungle to me, where it's him on a fucking ventilator. Yeah, it ends with him on a, which is again how that sample, and there's some sampling throughout this album, but that's the most jarring sample I've ever heard on a country album. It shouldn't work on paper. It shouldn't work, and it works wonderfully.
Because it's a pretty tragic end. It's basically a guy hopped up on pills and fucking died.
Yeah, but they sure make him feel good.
Continuing the addiction is smoking wine. Oh yeah, this is another.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another.
Yep.
Addiction song.
Another addiction song where he's a hillbilly hellraiser trying to kill my time. He's looking for that girl about 5'10", and he's going down that road of living a sin. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that living a sin with that woman brings us to my drinking problem.
My drinking problem. All right, Joe, you start with your vibe on my drinking problem, and I'll talk about my vibe on it.
This is flipping I drank so much and my woman left me. This guy is like, he's drinking because he can't stand the person he's with. Mm-hmm. Normally, though, you and I both know addiction. Normally, that's just used as an excuse.
Yes.
It's used as an excuse. Here, it's just more of a kind of a novelty one-off, I'd hope.
Yes.
He wouldn't actually. I think he's smart enough to know that that's not the. It's just like, but it's just the way it starts. And he's like, if she would have stayed another minute, I would have drank myself to death.
Yes. I mean, it's it's interesting. There's definitely a catch-22 going on in this song. Yeah. There's definitely a catch-22 going on here. I will admit, it was a little difficult for me at first because it reminded me so much of my old man, who was a chronic alcoholic, and blame all the other reasons of why he was drinking, and he wouldn't be drinking if he didn't have all these other problems. So it was kind of reminiscent of that. But overall, I can put that aside and see the humor, right? Like I'm not that.
And I think he knows enough about addiction that he knows that the narrator in here is the asshole.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No, I 100%. You can. Yeah.
You're not rooting for. You're like, yeah, this guy's kind of a dick, especially when the song keeps going. Mm-hmm. Like basically, she's the reason he's out drinking till past 4 a.m. Like, yeah, now it's just kind of like you just have a drinking problem, pal. She's not it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, Joe. 100%. 100%. Next we get his crazy rebel.
This is kind of a story song. This is like, I know I brought Fear and Loathing up before, but this is Fear and Loathing.
Yeah, or Weekend with Dennis Hopper in the 70s.
He's tripping on mescaline and drinking mushroom tea and
smoking morphine and doing heroin. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's it kind of. It progresses, and I think that's kind of the point, because as the songs progress, the addiction gets worse.
Yep. Yeah.
It's almost a concept album like that to me.
It definitely has a theme to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because by the time we get to the last song, it shows that these things that we're laughing and like, yeah, it's silly and it's crazy. Woo! It's not for like from Hank 3 or the protagonist point of view,
right?
Because it all goes away in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, to get lines again, I was looking for a guy who had a mullet and no teeth, and I was tripping on some acid a Latino gave to me. Hey, I was smoking morphine till it knocked me on my feet. That I got some H from my old Uncle Pete. Now I'm starting to feel like I might have OD'd. Oh my God! Again, how are you getting that from a country song? Like
Yeah.
drinking mushroom tea, smoking weed, doing some Boone Country moonshine.
But I
Fucking
think
A.
this is a thing. I think this is honestly an aspect of country music that has been often ignored.
100%.
Is addiction, and it's not just booze. I mean, you look in the South, especially in the South. There's a lot of opioids, methamphetamine.
Methamphetamines is a huge one in the
Yeah,
South. Yep.
yeah, but
That's why we have
opioids
meth
too.
gators.
Opioids have devastated the South.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So like the fact that he's even bringing it up is taboo.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I'm on 10 and I'm getting high. I hate being low and I like to drive my truck. Jesus Christ. All right.
Now we get the Dick and Dixie and the back in country, Paul.
Yeah. Boy.
Wasn't for the one line, I would still love this song.
The one line takes me out. I'm glad it's not just you. Now, I gotta say, again, I know people are gonna, say things like, "Oh my God," blah blah blah. These people. No. I mean, I get it, but the problem is the way that it's being done is immediately I stopped caring about the protagonist, and that's the problem. I mean, again, that one word from 2006, I get it, but the way it's said is not in a like you and I have kind of washed away things like with NWA and things like that where I think he really meant what he was saying on that one. And
it feels like it at least.
It feels like he's going after.
It's a hard F.
It's a hard F.
Like if I could get a version where that's just kind of bleeped out, I would love this song again because there's other parts of in this song that I fucking enjoy.
100%. 100%. And again, that's why I struggle with this song because I'm like, I agree with you on some of your things, but that one thing I don't. So it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. That's cool and all, but man, we really need to have a discussion about the opening verse. Like, can we talk about that?
If this was sold as a concept album and that's the character saying it, that's a little different, but I don't get that from this. I just think it's him just being really pissed off. It's him being how modern country is, rightfully so.
Oh yeah,
there's that one line I don't care for.
Yep,
but
and it's right in the beginning.
But I'm not gonna completely hate the album because of something like that. I'm just absolutely adult enough to know that I can just skip this.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. When I was listening to it, because again, I always listen to things 3 times. By the first time, I was able to just kind of go whatever when it came up. Yep. It still grated me a little bit, but I'm like, whatever. I got to review it, so we're going to go through. And again, he's bringing up a lot of really good points here, and you can tell he's really. I mean, there's no question that he's pissed off at Nashville in this thing, and he's bringing up a lot of really good points. So I don't want to.
Manufactured Town, kissing ass on Music Row.
Yes,
he's fucking putting Nashville on blast.
Absolutely. They say that I'm ill-mannered, that I'm going to self-destruct, but if you know what I'm thinking, you'll know that pop country really sucks. And again, I want to point out that the points that he's making are not diminished by him bringing up that word in the beginning, the hard F.
No, his point still stands.
His point still stands, and I agree with his points on those things.
The Manufactured Town part, I believe, is a dig at Kid Rock for being from Detroit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, being replaced by these kids. Yeah, that's I think a Kid Rock. Yep.
So now we get to Not Everybody Likes Us, which has a more explicit Kid Rock dig. But so this is kind of it acts like old timey country. The end of the show, like we're wrapping up the show kind of song. Not everybody likes us. Good. Hello there, folks. How the hell are you doing? It's good to be in your local bar again. Yep. It's kind of like wrapping it up. And, he's a son of a son. It's kind of like he's talking. This is probably the most, I think, autobiographical song of his.
Oh, yeah.
On here. He remembers watching old Waylon when he was shooting a shotgun. Like, I believe that because, his dad's Hank Jr. So
absolutely.
I think he probably knew some of these people at least. One of my favorite, and this is kind of what got. I'll kind of discuss it a bit. So we get to this. Just so you know, so it's set in stone. Kid Rock don't come from where I'm come from. Yes, it's true. He's a Yank, but he's no son of Hank. And even if you thought so, goddamn, you're fucking dumb. So around this time, Kid Rock's palling around with Hank Jr. And you know, he's wearing the sunglasses and the stupid hat. So people were like, "Oh, it looks like an illegitimate son of Hank Jr." And people started buying this rumor.
Oh God!
So it kind of irks Hank 3. But what really irks Hank 3 is then, you know, because he's friends with Hank Jr., Kid Rock thinks he can start talking, getting involved with their family struggles. So at one point, Kid Rock goes on, allegedly, I read this somewhere, it could be wrong.
I like how you preface it with allegedly. We don't need to get.
So allegedly, I just remember an interview with Hank 3 talking about this. Allegedly, Kid Rock went on his tour bus and tried to lecture him about treating his dad with more respect. There was a very contentious relationship at the time between Junior and the third.
Okay.
And Kid Rock butted his nose in it, and I guess Hank 3 blew up and he said, "Get the fuck off my bus before I fucking kill you." Kid Rock turns around, sees the entourage, is seedy biker guy. He's like, it's a very real, like, things got real for Kid Rock very fast.
Oh wow!
He bolts off the bus. And that sort of shit is why he really, at least around this time, I believe he just despised Kid Rock.
Well, everyone should despise Kid Rock because
Well,
Kid
he's a
Rock
piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit.
Well, Kid Rock's co-opted genres of music that he just had no part of the culture of. Like first with hip hop.
Yep.
And then he's like this trailer trash, like Southern guy. He's from Detroit, Michigan.
And he wasn't from the poor part of Detroit, Michigan.
No, his dad
either.
was a millionaire.
Yeah. Kid Rock is a manufactured marketing fuck all.
Yeah. Yes, and that kind of rubbed Hank 3 the wrong way, and I don't think I think with certain people in the country scene, he never recovered from it because he got called out by the grandson of Hank Williams. I mean, that's kind of
I mean, you get called out, you get bold. Now, the one thing I have to laugh at is when he's talking about the line of I hate I don't want to hear that shit on the pop country music on 98.1, which is hilarious to me because in our hometown, that was one of the biggest country stations in our hometown was 98.1 country 98.1. So he hit that, I'm like, huh, that's ironic.
Well, here's the thing too. So, and this is another alleged thing, but apparently I heard it from 3 different people when I worked at CD Warehouse and then Electric Fetus, is that his mom lives in central Minnesota.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if it's true, but I talked to a DJ from KVSC and he's like, yeah, what's her name? She lives north of St. Cloud, like on a farm somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but I heard from other people that, the Williams have family in central Minnesota.
Weird.
So that very much might be a direct reference to very much could be, Paul.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I asked Hank, but again, we'll get to it. He's kind of vanished.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time believing it, but that's because we like to have our rumors here in Minnesota about shit like that. So I think every state does or every city does. So I'm not gonna believe it till I hear it, per se. But I mean, good on her, she does. But I think, I think that's funny that if it was the 98 country that is in that central Minnesota area, that's funny.
I just looked her up. Gwen Yeargain.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's gonna have where she's living. You can find her at. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, if she is great, if she's not, whatever.
It's not unsurprising. Like people everywhere. So
no, it's not unsurprising. It's not unsurprising at all. So, all right. So then the next one we get this is the last one I listened to because again, it was so hard to find this album that I didn't even know there was a second part of it.
Yeah, Angel of Sin, which kind of takes all like this recklessness we're hearing, and we all of a sudden our narrator's alone,
Yep.
and this is a pretty fucking dark song. It's because Lord, I'm falling further day by day. The devil's moving in like he's gonna stay. I tried my all to give her something true, but when you're loving an angel of sin, she'll never be there for you.
Yes.
The angel of sin, the addiction, the partying.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's a reference to a specific woman. I think it's a reference, the angel of sin, to his deeds.
Yeah, his demons. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my poor
Mhm.
heart broke the day you said goodbye. I cried and tried to drink myself nearly dry, that's a pretty good song. Being alone is a pain that's hard to do when I'm laying here thinking of all the good times with you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's more singing about the good with addiction, the good times are before it grapples you.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of addicts are trying to re-experience those good times, but the devil twist on that is they think they have to do more and more to regain that. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a dark song.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a very dark song. It's a very, very, very dark song. Absolutely. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, uh, really, yeah. So, I mean, what's the aftermath, Joe, of this album?
The aftermath of Straight to Hell. Well, I'll do the charts here.
Yeah.
U.S. Billboard Top Country Albums, 17.
Wow.
Which is not bad for a DIY. U.S. Billboard 200, it hit 73.
Okay.
Which is, again, for what this album is, that's pretty good. The reception, All Music, gave it 4 out of 5. There's a pure and soulful musical vision at the heart of Straight to Hell, no matter how much Hank 3 lashes out against the confines of current country music and messes with the form, and that's what makes him most valuable as an outlaw. There's lots of long-haired, dope-smoking rednecks out there, but not many that can tap into the sweet and dirty heart of American music the way Hank 3 does.
That's spot on.
Yeah. AV Club was a little more critical. Just because Hank Williams III is the scion of country music legends doesn't automatically excuse him from accusations of rednexploitation, a line that I can only imagine a white lib in Chicago could come up with.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some exploitation, but again, it's
done from
that's kind of the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's the narrative. That's the point. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be honest here. Would you say the same thing? I mean, would AV Club say the same thing about fucking Grindhouse and Planet Terror? I mean, that's the point. That's the point. It's supposed to be exploitation. You're exploiting something. Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of it. It did. I'm not seeing any sales, but I remember it did pretty well. It sold pretty well. Again, it knocked country music on its ass a bit.
Good.
I remember some, like, even established country artists were some of them were kind of like, wow, this is really fucking good. Like, holy shit. Like, but they're in the machine, so they can't do their version of it, because even if they did, it would be just as insincere
Yep.
as the shit they're doing now. So yeah, so after this, Hank 3 does 2 more albums for Curb. They're not as good as this. He's said, like I said before, he said he'd hard pressed to top this, because this is just a lot of things he's going through at the time, and it just is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Curb releases a couple more albums that he has not approved of.
Oh, interesting.
2013 is like the last time he releases any new music. He does. I remember he released like 4 albums worth of music in 2013.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then he goes radio silent. He does a little tour. He hasn't toured since like 2015, 2016. and he's just radio silent now. This past year or the year before, he closed up his online store. He's given a few messages here and there. He's like, yeah, I'll be out again. I'm just, he was allegedly he was kicked off the ranch he was living on. He had to relocate. And that's just like, that's kind of like all anybody kind of knows. He'll do like intermittent things here and there. He appeared on like a cover of Country Heroes by some metal band. And he's done like a video here and there, but like he's really just kind of fallen off the face of the planet.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, because he's really, really talented in musically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, if he's hanging out with people like fucking Les Claypool and Tom Waits and all these other
Stanton LaVey and
yeah,
Zig.
yeah. He's gotta be kind of a cool fucking dude.
He seems like so. Like again, when I saw him in concert, it was wild because the concert alone was like I told you it was crazy, and that concert got me like because I saw him singing Hank Sr. songs. That because after I saw that, I went and got like a collection of Hank Williams Sr. music, and I fell in love with that. I never even thought of giving it a chance because it's like, oh, that's old music or whatever. And there's like a lot of good stuff there. But at the show, he stayed around and signed every autograph until people were done.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Really in tune with his fans. He would sit there, he would talk to them, listen to them tell stories and shit. He's just a cool guy. I interviewed his bass player for the college paper I was at. His bass player is Joe Buck. That was a weird experience, man. I was in the St. Cloud City Hall parking lot in this Joe Buck's giant trailer for almost 2 hours as he went on weird existential rants as he chain smoked. And it was great. Like just sitting there talking with that guy. It was fucking amazing. Like the fact that he gave me that kind of time.
That's awesome.
And the fact he kept telling me he hates reporters and he doesn't read press. That was pretty cool though. Like just sitting there and like, I couldn't use all of it or whatever, but like he had some really great stories. One of them, I believe, I remember kind of addiction came up. He was at least then he was clean and sober. I haven't followed him since. I hope he is. I was talking because like, all the drug references on Straight to Hell. And he's like, well, yeah, I was messed up and like, but I couldn't be in Hank 3's band if I was fucked up. He was like, Hank 3 would not let me play in his band if I was still using.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So like Hank 3 seems like a good guy who would be like watched out for people he loved or respected.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
That was just wild though. It was Friday night in St. Cloud. 10 o'clock sitting in a
wow.
Then I walked with him from his trailer to get that spot all the way down to the Rocks.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Back when the Rocks is still around. Fuck, I remember the Rocks.
Right downtown. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, he was a nice guy. He gave me a lot of time, and yeah.
That's fucking cool. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I guess should we get to recommendations?
Yeah. Let's get to recommendations. Paul, would you recommend Straight to Hell?
Yes. I don't know why I'm saying yet. Like I shouldn't. Again, on paper, on everything, on every fiber of my being, I should hate this, and I don't, and I can't, and that's weird. And I'm not being again. I grew up. We grew up where country was a big thing, and a lot of it was that modern country. And maybe we got glimpses here and there of the old, better bluegrass style, like this type of thing. There's a lot of things on this I enjoy. I enjoy the psychedelic. I enjoy the fusion of different genres that mix well with the country that you wouldn't think it would do, and the fact that it's not soulless, boring, watered down, bland country from insincere fuck-alls. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I completely recommend it.
Yeah, I would too. Just, the caveat of if you're offended by language.
Yeah.
Some of it or addiction. stuff like that. If that's really not your thing, you probably won't like it. Dick and Dixie has the slur in it. You know,
And the clean version doesn't have that song. If I'm because I
no,
found
no,
that
it doesn't. It doesn't have that or Craze Country Rebel. I wonder why it wouldn't have Craze Country Rebel.
gee, I wonder.
I mean, that whole song is fucked up.
Yeah, no. Which is really, again, it was a struggle. So YouTube Music does not have the explicit version on their YouTube Music. It just has the clean. So I had to dig and dig and dig, and I finally found a playlist that had the explicit versions of these songs. But I didn't realize it was only one disc. I didn't realize it was, so I never got to hear Louisiana or the hidden track. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, this was a difficult one to find, which I find odd considering how many people love this album.
Yeah, and considering how popular it was, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea why they would not have the official on YouTube Music. Amazon Music had the explicit version and the clean version. So,
well, maybe I need to switch over to well, ugh. That's the part of the reason why I have YouTube Music is because I pay for YouTube Premium because I don't want ads.
yeah, I just got rid of my YouTube Premium, and it's really testing me because now I'm getting the ads again.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really pissed off by them.
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't think I could handle YouTube with the ads, to be honest with you. I don't think I'd watch it as much as I do if there's ads.
I wish there was a cheaper version where I didn't get the music. Like if I could just get like the commercial free.
Yeah. Just let me pay you $5 a month and get the commercials out of my fucking face.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. So Joe, what's going on with the Joe Down?
We released the Point Break.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I know I read it, but Joe, I would just want to hear what was your overall general vibe on Point Break?
Oh, it was entertaining. It's just the last third I hated.
Yeah.
It just went off the rails too much for me.
That movie, and I didn't want you to know too much before we talked, before you watched it and everything like that, has some mythic. I mean, people, it's up there with Roadhouse as like a lot of people's favorite fucking movie and it's weird that it is. It's funny to me.
Yeah, it has its moments, like when they rob the bank. That's hilarious. Like, and Patrick Swayze does a great villain because you like him.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So that works for me. It was just like the last part where, it was so stupid.
Goes off the rails. Yeah. Well, Joe, so I have some good news for I think you'll enjoy. So we have been getting a lot more listens on at least the SoundCloud side of things. We're averaging about 100 listens about a week now.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. Apparently we have a big following in Columbus, Ohio. So whoever's listening in Columbus, Ohio, thank you. You're not the fan that asked for the review. We did the fan review, got feedback from the fan. The fan was very appreciative of our honesty of it, was not offended by our take on the album at all. So they're very much appreciated just the fact that we did it. So I'm very, very thankful to that fan for bringing it to us and being able to understand that we were that our integrity was there to give an actual real review versus something that you would just want. But yeah, no, dude, we're getting the Columbus, Los Angeles, and Dublin are our top 3 cities.
That's random.
That's random as shit. Random as shit.
All right, well. Thank you, listeners in Dublin, Ireland, and LA, and Columbus, Ohio.
Maybe Chappelle's listening to us. Maybe Chappelle found us. It's like, I like those guys.
I guess.
So yeah, so that's right there. All right, Joe, do you want to ask me what we're doing next week?
Paul, what are we doing next week?
So I wanted to do this review weeks ago, but we had other things that came up, and then the fan review and things like that. But I think it's time. Both you and I, the Fire Walk with Me 30-year came out. We recently lost this artist who is Julie Cruz, who did a lot with Twin Peaks. And I think this is one of those rare instances where you and I both know a lot about this person, you more than me per se, but we're both very much so we can discuss, I think, more at length about the artist. So we're going to do Julie Cruz's second album, The Voice of Love.
Nice.
Yes. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Julie Cruz, it's avoiding the term Lynchian because maybe you don't know what the fuck that means.
I think it's been in the public sphere long enough. Most people, if they're listening to this, they'll probably know what Lynchian is.
Yeah, but dream pop at the end of the day, I think that's her major genre is dream pop. So yes, Joe, that's what we're going to be doing is The Voice of Love by Julie Cruz. Rest in peace. Yeah, fuck, man. So other than that, I don't have a whole hell more lot. This was an awesome review, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a great album. I'm always enjoy hearing things, if you would have said to me before we did this review, I'm gonna give you a country album and you're gonna like it, I've been like, fuck you, dude. I've been on this planet for several decades at this point, and you can kiss my ass because I don't like country at all. And minus again the ones we talked about, which transcend country.
Yeah.
And here it is, like one of the most country things out there, and yet it's got that modern sensibility in terms of I get reverb and echoes and psychedelic added to country music. Should not work on paper. And it's phenomenal. So thank you, Joe, for making me listen to that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, pal. Okay.
You got me. All right, Joe. Do you want to take us out?
No.
This has been Rate That Album with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Thank you for listening.